Good morning, gorgeous. How are you?
I'm good. I'm okay. I'm okay. You have
I
days where you're okay. Like, I'm okay.
You're like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. So, as everybody knows, we're sisters, but we've never talked about something that we
You.
both share. And we're
Yeah.
going to spend just like a minute on this because this is Chris. This is how women show up.
Yeah.
So, as soon as I laid eyes on you, I was like, something's off. Although you've got the beautiful tan and the gorgeous glasses and, rock and roll, I could tell something's off.
Yeah.
And you shared something with me, and we both have the same condition.
Yeah.
And you're suffering, and I'm like, let's like reschedule, let's redo. And you're like, no,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
So tell us what you're kind
Yeah.
of
So
struggling
yeah.
with.
So funny enough. Yeah. So I have degenerative disc disease. I've had 9 discs operated on. It started back when I was like 17 years old.
Crazy.
And yeah, and so some days are great, and other days are just not great. And it's so funny. I don't know if you have the same thing, but I can go help a friend move and lift a couch, and I'm fine. And then
Hmm.
I could sneeze and not be able to walk for 3 days. Like that. It's
Sorry, I'm laughing with you. And even if you laugh, I'm sure you're like, oh, don't
yeah,
make me laugh.
well,
But
right.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. And unless you have this disease, people do not understand. They think it's a sore back and they think it's whatever. And it's like, no, it is debilitating.
yeah,
And the pain, nothing, you can take or you can do. You can't sit, you can't stand, you can't lie down. It all hurts,
yeah,
like
yeah,
excruciating pain.
yeah.
So I just want to say thank you for showing up. And I feel your pain because I know it. And wow, just goes to show again what an incredible human you are when you're showing up not necessarily but also for me, but for your community that loves to see you on
Yeah.
here
Well,
and
I am, but I will
wants to
say
hear from
some of
you.
it is showing up selfishly because I get asked all the time, like, how do you deal with it when you've got some sort of chronic pain disease? And for me, the best way to deal with it is to continue doing the things I love. So I'm distracted by the things I love. So, yes, I'm showing up for you, for the community, but selfishly, I'm showing up to distract
Mm.
myself from the pain because this is the place I'd rather be. So,
I love that. And you're right, but like you said, and what we talked about earlier, it's hard to sit, it's hard to
yeah.
stand, it's hard to whatever. So if you need to step up and
So if you
stretch.
see me, yeah, if you see me fidgeting today,
You know what? Well, you probably can't tell, but I'm standing. I have a stand-up desk
yeah,
purposely because of that. I can't sit for long periods of time.
yeah,
And like you, I'm like shifting to one side, shifting to the other. And
yeah.
anyways, we could have a whole other podcast on
Uh,
that. But today we are talking and we're going to make it super quick so we can let Chris go and sort of do some stretching and whatever you need to do to minimize how you're feeling.
yeah,
We're going to talk about one of our favorite topics
yeah,
today, which is rejection. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah,
And and people are probably like, what exactly
yeah.
is
Who
Femme
loves
Perrier and coffee? Well, I learned this early on, and I just can't wait to get your take on this.
yeah,
I learned this early on, and it wasn't for me, it was through Tony Robbins, where it was changing your narrative. Now, I know that's sort of like an old thing for people, but still for me, that works
yeah,
so much. Where it's like if you think of rejection or the word no or not interested or whatever the case is, especially as an entrepreneur, as a
mm,
founder, as a human, it is not an easy thing to hear unless you sort of change how you feel about it. And that's why, as you know, my sort of favorite thing is saying rejection is redirection,
yes,
because it
yeah,
really is. And, just like failure is a pathway to success or to something bigger or different or rock star. So when you get rejected, it's not easy. And I'm sure you deal with this with your team all the time.
yeah,
And I know I do also personally. And so I think it's the feeling that or the meaning that you attach to the rejection
mm.
is how you get through it. Would you agree, disagree?
Yeah. I think it's all how you take it. I'll tell you, one of the greatest speakers that I've ever listened to speak about their founder story, their rejection, any of it is actually Bobby from Virtual Gurus, and I hope I'm
Mm,
not misquoting misquoting the number, but she tells the great story of it was something like 73 rejections before she got her first yes. And maybe I'm not using the right number, and I'm sorry if I misquoted that. But she tells the story of she took those and learned from everyone, and not only learned from them, but it gave more oomph, more I can do this. I can get a yes. I can keep going. And I don't know, when you have that sort of adversity, that sort of rejection, I almost feel like it makes that final yes, that final even better, right? Like you're like, I did it. And I can even relate that to a personal story. When I was first a small business advisor, and I know this is not the same kind of rejection, but here's how I felt that feeling was I used to write credit applications. Like for my clients, I would write them to the adjudicators on why they should, not only just the numbers, but you had to write the story. Like, why do we want to support this application? And it was one of my very first, and it was a big one. And I believed in it. I believed in this customer. I believed in the business. And I went back 9 times. 9 times they said no. And I said, no, you're wrong. Look at this. And they said no. And I said, no, hang on. I don't think you took this into consideration. And after 9 times, I got the customer approved. And let me tell you, that approval felt way better than any of the easy approvals.
Exactly. And you're still talking about it today.
So that was probably 12 years ago.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And like you said, I mean, I just want to go back. You said, something sort of you minimize, like, oh, it's not the same thing. Rejection is rejection, right?
Fair.
And I don't want to minimize like how you felt, because number one, you were going to bat for somebody else, but you were still, like you said, there was that huge personal belief that you had.
Well, and I was trying to prove myself too, right? I was new at what I was doing, and I wanted to prove myself that I can do this. I can do this for my clients. I can be really good at this. So it was a little bit self-serving also, that I wanted to sort of make a name for myself, right?
Yes. But your rejection, like you said, you still kind of, because it's like all the people, like, so talking about misquoting, I'm not sure of the number, but the gal that started Canva, the multi-million or maybe billion-dollar company, 101 times. Same with the gal from Bumble. There's so many people that have been rejected. I pulled up some names, including, and I'm just going to say Elvis, Michael Jordan. Let us not forget, all these greats that Oprah, who's a huge mentor to me, as you know, and all these amazing people, they've been rejected 1,000 times too. And so how do we internalize that? And I think just that our community listening, how do we make that better for you, or how do you make it better for you? I'm just sharing what I do, and I sort of do, and I believe you did the same thing, is where I attach it to something else where, whatever the person might say to you, and just like you said, you went and you kept saying, but I believe in it. They obviously needed to see or hear something else. Whatever that was, you weren't hitting their touch points. And that is so fair. You can't, be liked and loved and accepted by everybody, and that's okay.
Exactly.
However, if you want to get better, take what whoever is doing the rejecting, hopefully they give you, and when I say rejecting, I mean a door slammed, whatever the case may be. I'm talking business-wise now, I'm not talking personal. But I'm saying to you, why don't you take that feedback, and hopefully they provide that feedback, and sift through it. If there's something there that you think, you know what, I have really wanted to improve this. I didn't, I probably should have, because sometimes there's some real value in going through why you got rejected. And sometimes there's absolutely no value. It just means, you know what, they're launching the exact same product. They have another candidate in mind. They have another corporation in mind. So it might have nothing to do with you, but it's still, consider it a dress rehearsal.
Yeah. Well, and another thing I'll add is sometimes rejection is not because you don't have what they're looking for. It's because you didn't show them what they needed to see. So, and that happens both as an entrepreneur, but that happens even in the corporate world. Like sometimes you go to, whether it's that interview or that, going for a promotion or whatever it might be, and it's not that you don't have what it takes. It's not that you don't have exactly what you need for that next step. Sometimes it's that you haven't shown the right people that you have it. And so there was a great leader of mine that, and I think I've used this story before, but it's so applicable, that said to me, like, they think you're unapproachable. They think that, you're overly confident. It wasn't that I was unapproachable. It's that I needed to show the right leaders that I was approachable. I needed to show the right leaders that I was a team player. So I think that one of the things that sometimes we get in our own heads about when it comes to rejection is that when someone says like, oh no, you're not right for this because you're not a team player. We take that as, I am too a team player. No. You just didn't show them you are. It's not meaning you're not a team player. You have to now take that away and be like, how do I show them I am? How do I show them that they're wrong?
Right. And, the perfect example is, and how do you not take that personally? You and I have had many conversations when people say, oh, don't take it personal.
Yeah.
It's business. It's like,
Yeah.
well, business is personal to me. It means something to me, right? But how do you take that? So all the people that told you you couldn't do it, you can't do this, you'll never amount to anything, that's a big, huge part of my story.
Yep.
That fueled me, like just exactly what you said earlier. So why does it do opposite for some people? I do want to say this though, before I seem like this, oh my gosh, I love rejection and woohoo, and I can rise above everything. I've had to pick myself up off the floor many a times. I've cried for days, weeks, whatever you want to call it, when something really means something to you. It doesn't mean you don't personally get affected. Of course you do.
Yeah.
But what do you do with that afterwards? So I guess my question to you is, obviously people have said to you, because I know your story, that, oh, you can't do this.
Yeah.
What has that done to you on a few different levels?
Yeah. So the first thing I'll say is when people say don't take it personally, I disagree. Take it personally. Take it personally. Because if I don't take it personally, that means I'm just fluffing it off. And you don't want to fluff it off. Like, you don't want to be like, they don't know what they're talking about. You're not going to learn from that. You're not going to grow from that. So for me, my first thing of advice would be, yes, take it personally. Take in what they said and take it personally. And now decide how you're going to use it. So if you need to take a moment, like it hurts when somebody says something, true, not true, it doesn't matter. We're all human. So take a minute, take a moment, take a day, take what you need, have your moment of feeling it, and then use that feeling to fuel moving forward and decide what that looks like. So does that look like you're not going to listen to them and you're just going to do exactly what you did with someone else? Maybe sometimes you've decided that, nah, you know what? Their rejection is not going to change what I'm doing. And that's okay. If you firmly believe that you're doing all you can and you think that their opinion is not the one, that's okay. But really take a moment after you felt it. So feel it first. And then after you're out of the feelings, then think, okay, can I learn from this? Can I make a change? Is there something that I need to do differently, say differently, look into more, whatever it is, and then decide how you're going to move forward and just move forward. Just move forward, whether that's taking 100 more rejections to move forward with each one of them, or maybe you need to make some changes. Maybe there's some stuff you need to look at, and then do that with purpose and take every piece of rejection personally.
Yes. We got to get another t-shirt made.
Yeah.
It is personal.
It is personal.
Because to your point, I mean, I can't not ever imagine not caring about what I do, because then I know I'm doing the wrong thing and I'm on the wrong path. And I loved what you said when you said, take it or don't take it, change it or don't. It doesn't, just because you got rejected once or 101 times does not mean you need to change anything. No. If you believe,
that's up to you.
exactly what you said. If you believe in what you have,
Yeah.
then stay your path.
Yeah.
You can, but along the path, you will, I feel like if you really listen to your internal voice
Yeah.
and your body, if you feel like something really is not clicking,
Yeah.
you probably knew that and just thought, oh, I didn't have time to
Mm,
change it.
yeah.
Or you know what? This is actually I'm hitting up the wrong people. I should be
Yeah.
going, you got to know how to zig
Yeah.
when you thought you were
Yeah.
going to zag or pivot, whatever, the fancy trendy keywords are. But that is so incredibly important. But also, when I say to you that I've been affected many times, and I say, I've cried for weeks. I don't mean like I have
No.
cried for weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've been upset
But
about
it
it, but
sat with
I
you. It sat.
feel,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And just what you said, I call it a pity party. I believe you need to have your pity party.
Yeah.
And then, and when I call it that, I don't minimize it and I don't say that to other people that are not receiving of it. But it really is like, oh man, do I ever feel beat up? It's kind of like that. And it's like, okay, we're going to put this pity party in a box,
Yeah.
shelf it, and we'll get back to it if I so choose to. And if I want to revisit it once a day for, 30 days, what a waste of time for me personally.
Yeah.
But I've gone through that exercise and it's helped me tremendously. And the other piece that really helps me too is going to people that you actually trust and love and know that there's no competition,
Yeah.
no judgment. We chatted about this a little bit in our last podcast.
Yeah.
But I think with rejection, that is incredibly valuable as well. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think it's important. So if you've got this rejection, whether that's a piece of feedback, whether that's a no, that maybe you can't get on board, maybe you disagree with what was said, take that to someone you know and trust. Take that to your honest person and say to them, like, here's the feedback I got. What do you think? Like, do you think that's a fair feedback statement? Do you think that was a fair no? Do you think, and get their opinion, because now you know that this is a person you trust. Like if I come to you and I say, okay, Adrianne, someone said that I'm really, not interesting. And I want to know what you think. And so if I say that to you, now whatever you say to me, I've already decided you're a person I trust. So now I have to take it in. I've asked you to tell me what you think. And so if you now say to me, well, Chris, I think you're interesting, but that last podcast you put out wasn't the best. Well, now I know you're a trusted person that I listen to. And so now I've got to stop and think, okay, maybe I was just being defensive with that other person because this person I trust. And so if they're telling me that maybe that feedback wasn't 100% wrong, now I better listen. Now I better.
I love that. And what do you think about listening to your internal voice?
Oh,
Because I think my internal voice she is spot on. And sometimes I'm like, shh, don't say that. But usually I'm huge on listening to your gut, women's intuition, spidey sense, whatever you want to call it. I am so in tune with things like that. Do you believe that you should listen to yourself?
I absolutely do. I absolutely believe you should listen to yourself. However, side note to that, I am also a very passionate person, and sometimes I'm in the fits of whether it's, really excited about something, really angry about something, really, and sometimes I need to listen to myself in an hour. And I'm saying, like,
Love that.
sometimes I just need to, like, okay, hang on, sit with this for a minute. Because
Yeah.
right in the throes of something, my intuition may lead me astray.
That is true. So there's something to be said. I'm laughing because you said an hour.
Yeah.
I even have, a 24 or 72
Yeah.
hour rule
Yeah.
where it's like, yeah, we're moving to, I don't know, Mexico, and then we're going to go to Dubai, and
Yeah.
this is going to be great. And I wake up and, people are like, oh, so and I'm like, oh, no, that was just, I got excited.
That was just a minute.
Right?
That
was just a minute. Yeah, exactly. So no, I mean more, when you've really thought out whether it's a business plan or whether it's a partnership you're considering. I think you sort of know. Intuitively,
Absolutely.
I think if it's a good fit, a right fit, and then people will go after things for the wrong reasons,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then they're shocked when things don't work out. And that can mean personally or professionally. I'm just saying, like you said, I love how you're like, give yourself a minute or an
Yeah,
hour.
yeah,
I'm thinking, a couple of days, but you're right. Things always look different given a little bit of time.
yeah,
And would you say the same for rejection? Because now we
yeah.
talk about our stories of rejection, and
Oh my God,
it's,
yeah.
it's
Even
sort of
for
like, oh my gosh, it's just whatever. You share them when before it was almost like, oh, be still my beating heart.
yeah, I would say for myself anyways, rejection is more so give yourself 24 hours, right? Like excitement, give myself an hour to just even keel. But if it's rejection, don't react immediately. And for myself, that's when I need to take the 24 or 48 hours to just, okay, take a step back, take a minute, soak it in, feel the feelings, take it personally, and then calmly decide, okay, now what do I feel about it? Now, how does it feel? Now, what are my thoughts? Because for me, I guarantee you, if you ask me, 5 minutes after a really important pitch, interview, whatever it is, or you ask me 24 hours after, my
Mm.
intuition's going to be very different, right? Like you need to just let that kind of soak in.
And 100%. And I think too, especially for, and I know we've got to wrap up in a moment, but I think especially for entrepreneurs and
Mm,
founders, it is a hard thing to sort of be okay with. But I think if you're not okay with it, and I hate to say this, and maybe I'll get some negative comments, but then I think you're not meant to be a founder
mm, yeah,
or an entrepreneur, because that is part of the path. That is part Steve Jobs, like there so many people were rejected and did not believe
yeah,
in what he was doing.
yeah,
Well, hello,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So I think you've really got to be okay with understanding that that is part of the process.
yeah,
This, the struggle is part of the story.
yeah,
And that's why I have this written here as a reminder, because sometimes it's like, why is this so flippin' hard? Why is this so difficult? Because it's part of it.
yeah. Well,
You have to go through that.
yeah,
There's no other path, right?
yeah. I agree. I agree. And I think not only is like if you don't have that, it might not be the path for you, but I just think that so applies. Yes, 100% entrepreneurs, but I think that just applies to everyone. Is that you have to be able to sort of package that up and use that as fuel. Like you just have
Yeah,
to. Like I can think of I know we have to wrap up, but like I mean, we could do a part two on this.
for
I
sure.
can use that in situations as being a mom. Like how many times
Oh,
being a mom did you have to like package that up, hold on to that for later? Like,
yeah,
how many
that
times
is true.
in my corporate career, how many times did I have to package that up and like, okay, we're gonna use that as fuel, but like not today. We're just gonna hang on to that. So I think that that's a skill that to be successful, to be able to be truly happy on your path, you have to be able to just like take a moment and not react immediately to things like rejection.
1,000%. And it's funny you say that about the whole kids thing and life. And you're right, life in general, and it doesn't matter if you're a
Yeah,
C-suite manager, president, director, any of that stuff. I'm just saying there is a way to accept it
yeah,
and grow and learn from it, or it will beat you down.
yeah.
And my thing just about having even this conversation with you and I is how have we dealt with it,
Mm,
right? And I love the fact that you're sit on it, and I change the narrative, giving people just little tips to be able to deal with something so difficult, and for others to know you're not alone.
yeah.
This happens all the time. I think is worth its weight in gold,
Last
personally.
last tip I'll give that I'll say about rejection: don't hide it or conceal it, or like I
Mm.
think that we're in what I'm gonna call like the Pinterest world, where we all just share the amazing things. We're all just like, life's perfect, my journey's been amazing. But I think we need to do exactly what you're doing. I mean, you're a superstar at it, but we need to share the struggles and the rejections so that we do feel like we're not alone. So that we do see that, like, look, these other individuals who are super successful, super impactful, great mentors, they went through the struggles too. It's not just me. They had to overcome the challenges.
I love that. And it's a perfect way to end this segment, but I think that we definitely need a part two.
Yeah.
Because as you know, this is the reason I Am Unbreakable was
Yeah.
born.
Yeah.
Because looking at, like you said, people's
Yeah.
Instagram or
Yeah.
Snapchat or TikTok, they're beside these beautiful cars and these homes and
Yeah.
like, it's great. And I'm like,
Uh,
what?
yeah.
How to the no? There's no way that I always say there's no paved highway to success. It's one dirt road uphill
Yeah.
with bumps and bruises and
Yeah.
all of that stuff. And that's what I want us to share with the community, that what you are experiencing is normal. You're
Yeah.
not alone. You'll not always feel this way. That was one of the big ones for me, is I was always like, oh my gosh, I'm always going to feel this way. And it was actually my mom that said, you will not always feel this way. And it is so true. And which sort of backs up what you're saying, is give it that time, give
Yeah.
it the grace and space
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
to feel okay
Absolutely.
with it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I know we have to wrap up. Love you. And I hope so much that your back
Yeah.
gets better, quick,
It will.
speedy recovery. I know it will, but thank you so much for
Thank
showing
you.
up when you did not and could not. You were still here.
A
Thank
pleasure
you.
as always.
Thanks, sweetie.